everyone. I'm Catherine Paganini. I am the Director of Marketing at Buoyant, the creator of Linkerd, and I'm also the TAG Contributor Strategy Co-Chair, where I facilitate the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group. And today I am honored to moderate this panel with this fantastic group of people who are all part of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group. And they will introduce themselves in a minute. But first, I wanted to say that this topic is incredibly important because I truly believe that allies can have a huge impact in making our community more inclusive. And if you wonder why, minorities are in the minority by definition, right? So it's very easy to ignore their voices or overhear their voices. And we're here, what we can do is basically not allow that, right? Because together we are in the majority. So allies play a crucial role. And if you look at history, real change has happened when allies stepped up and advocated for accessibility by using their privilege and influence. That is right now particularly important. It's always important, but with the current climate, it's particularly important. So my hope is that you all leave this panel empowered with actionable tips to start advocating for a more accessible and inclusive cloud-native community. With that, let's get started. I'll hand it over to our panelists to introduce themselves. Anastasiia, do you want to get started?
Yes, thank you, Catherine. Just to let you know, I've used the sign here, Catherine. This is Catherine's sign name. My name is Anastasiia Gubska. I'm an SRE DevOps engineer. I work for BT, British Telecom. I'm also the first CNCF ambassador who is deaf. Very proud to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sandeep. I work as a lead software engineer at Zen. I am the co-chair of the CNCF Deaf and the Hard of Hearing Working Group, and also a member of the TAG Contributor Strategy. I'm a person with hearing impairment, and I rely on captions and lip reading. And if you see me looking at my phone, I'm not checking my official email. I'm merely following the captions. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Koch. Hello, thank you for being here. I hope you saw the keynote this morning. So anyway, I work for Slalom as a data engineer, principal data engineer. So I am also with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group co-chair, and I'm also an AWS data hero. So got lots of hats to play around with here. I'll pass it on to Milad.
Hi, my name is Milad, and I was born deaf. And my mother was sick during her pregnancy with me, and I was born deaf as a result. I work for Epam. I've been there about 10 years. I'm a software engineer. And also, I am a founder of Deaf Tech, a YouTube channel where I produce videos regarding deafness and technology and improving the work conditions for people who are deaf and hard of hearing.
Okay, great. So first question. So what does allyship mean to you, and how has it shaped your experience in the community? Anastasiia.
Thank you. Great question. So allyship for me, an ally is a person who does something very small that becomes a big impact for somebody like me. So for example, because of the situation in my home country, I had to move over to the UK. Just to let you know, by the way, that my first language is Ukrainian Sign Language. But here in the UK, we use British Sign Language. So I have two BSL, British Sign Language interpreters working with me. And also you'll see on stage ASL, or American Sign Language, being used. So we also have American Sign Language interpreters here in the building. So a really complex language situation. So yeah, bit of a challenge. I also do use American Sign Language myself, so I'm trying not to look at the ASL whilst I'm trying to use BSL, because it's really hard to use both languages. They don't mix very well, so I'm concentrating very hard on my two interpreters today. So an ally for me, when I moved over to the UK, I'd previously worked in South Korea in a very different market, and I needed to upskill here in the UK to be able to access the job market. I didn't know British Sign Language. My preference was to use verbal written communication. I didn't often have access to interpreters. I was trying to do some online workshops, watching videos online, and they didn't have subtitles or captions. So I'd asked the creator if he could add some captions to his videos, and he said, yep, absolutely no problem. He himself added captions to his training videos, and that's how I was able to access the world of Kubernetes. And because that happened, I'm here at KubeCon. I'm a CNCF ambassador, and I presented yesterday at KubeCon, at ArgoCon, so I'm really, really proud to have that happen, and that's what allyship means to me.
And I would like to add to what Anastasiia just said. Allyship, for me, when I envision what allyship means, it's so impactful because your voices amplify ours and help spread the word about accessibility and our needs. So often it's so easy for you as hearing people to just ignore the needs of someone who, for example, is deaf. Allyship includes everyone in access. So it can be incredibly impactful and helpful. So allyship in cloud native particularly has been huge for my promotion opportunities in my career, and my world has changed for the good and permanently as a result. So understanding how we are included via accessibility, that was something I had no idea prior to my experience here. So it has changed my career, it has changed my trajectory, and allyship is responsible for that. The goals of even having something as simple as an interview or access to a conference like this, I would just encourage you all to use your voices because it can be hugely impactful for someone's career and their life. So we need small actions, big actions. It really doesn't matter, but even small actions can make huge impact and big change for people in our community.
Great. And can you share a time where allyship made a tangible difference in your life, Sandeep, or in your career, actually, Sandeep?
After finishing my engineering, no one was willing to hire a person who cannot listen over the phone. Since I liberated, I still cannot listen over the phone. And so I would get asked, how would you face client calls and everything? But a certain CEO far away from my city, he chose to believe in me. And so I started my career as a software developer thousands of miles away from my home, in a very inclusive company. But it was a city where neither language, nor climate, nor culture suited me. And yet I persisted, and in that wonderfully inclusive company, I rose to become the top contributor in that company. And whatever I am today, after a decade also, I still owe it to my manager in my first company who molded me, where I learned the art of software engineering. For anyone who works as a software engineer, the most challenging thing is to go to a client's place, a client's data center, and deploy everything from scratch. Now, when I went to this client, he was a grand old man with a Santa Claus-like beard. So the beard was so thick, I couldn't see the lips. There was no question of reading them. And he was very embarrassed that whatever he was speaking, I couldn't follow. But my manager, he texted me. He said, you just focus on your work. Don't worry about anything else. I was to complete the project in 45 days. I was able to finish it in 40 days. And the client became a wonderful friend, even extending a job offer, which I politely declined. So when you deliver value, when you deliver excellence, you go beyond your disability. But I had wonderful allies to enable it. The CEO who chose to have faith in me, my manager who empowered me. So I wouldn't be here were it not for them.
Yes, I'd like to add to that. Thank you, Sandeep. So when I started to be involved in the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group, I had met a lot of people through the cloud native community. I was working with Kubernetes. and I wanted to learn more about Argo. So I was really, really lucky to meet my Argo mentor, Kostas, who's just sat at the front in the audience there. Kubernetes, Argo rollouts, there were a lot of really complicated concepts involved, and I wasn't always understanding it very well. And Kostas so kindly would make videos for me, add subtitles to them, and explain really complicated technological concepts. So I had a really good understanding of Argo. And then I was able to work on an Argo project, talk at a conference, and I can also go into my workplace and justify the need for Argo rollouts, make sure that they understand the business case for it. And that really, really helped me with, for example, automatic deployments, the automation of deployments in our organization. And it means that, you know, I can talk to people about the efficiency of Argo rollouts and how it can help their own organization. So just, you know, my mentor really helped me because he understood that just because I was deaf, it didn't mean I was inefficient or I wasn't able to work at a high level or I couldn't understand things. He really supported me to get my name known in my organization. And it means that people come to me and ask me about Kubernetes. You know, I'm able to talk quite in depth about security things. And if it wasn't for Kostas's videos and the subtitles he added to them, I wouldn't have got to the place where I am in my career. So his small act of allyship has had a huge impact on my career.
Yeah, and he's sitting just there, Kostas, this is just amazing.
Thank you, Kostas, so much.
Yeah, so, and actually you inspired a program that I'm going to give like a call to action right after, like once we're done. So just seeing the two of you is just amazing, and I'm hoping that we can create more of these relationships. But yeah, more to that later. Despite many DEI initiatives, there's like diversity in tech is still lacking. What are the biggest challenges that underrepresented groups still face in the tech community? Rob?
Yes, so DEI right now is considered a bad word, especially in the US. And from that perspective, it really doesn't matter. Really, DEI can change opportunities for us and opportunities for everyone to get involved, and we can get involved mutually. It's really, we can interact with each other, and the diversity and inclusion and equality helps the organization and benefits, you know, like a two-way street, really. I would say that your products, your community, within your companies, within your culture, once we have the allyship in place and it's built into a company's culture, it makes it a lot easier to provide support to underrepresented groups and making decisions along the way and promoting products to the underrepresented groups as well. So your products and services will be much better overall with that allyship, like I said, a two-way street, and getting that to become like second nature, really.
And I'd like to add to that. Prior to experiencing this myself, my hands are actually freezing right now because of the air conditioning, so I'm trying to warm them up so I can actually sign effectively, but here we go. All right. So to add to what Rob just said, DEI, it's still something that is a challenge we face in many respects. And when you have a role model, for example, like Rob has been a tremendous role model to me and helping me increase my access and my ability to be included in communities that I didn't have an entree into before. So, for example, we've got some wonderful leaders here. And it's expanded the road. It's made the road wider for us to get into more places we weren't able to get into before. So having role models help us get in and mentor us, teach us how to interview, for example, or any of those professional roles that we didn't have access to before. It smooths the way for us to be able to get in.
100% agree.
Okay, great. And how can allies support accessibility in both the community and within their organization or the industry. Sandeep.
So my journey with the deaf and the hard of hearing working group, it just happened by chance. In the keynote in Chicago, I happened to sit next to Catherine, and she had just helped to find this group. And she said, come be a part of it. And I've been with the group since the last 1.5 years, not missing a single meeting. So I actually wanted to expand my contributions beyond the deaf and the hard of hearing working group. So last year in February, I attended the TAG Contributor Strategy meeting, and Catherine is a co-chair of the TAG CS group. So I attended that meeting as she wasn't there, and I did not know anyone in the meeting. But the host, Josh, he just asked me one line, are the captions working for you? So that one line made me feel so much belong and included. And that is how I started my journey into open source. And then I went to the SIG country-based group. And from there, I went to the COM sub-project of the SIG country-based group. And I wrote a spotlight for the deaf and the hard of hearing working group, which is up on the Kubernetes blog. Later, I got in touch with a mentor, and he's pretty young. So that is the beauty of open source, is that a very young guy can also mentor the senior folk. So he asked me that if you still want to contribute more to open source, Madhu, he asked me to get in touch with Kathleen. And through Kathleen, I became the COM shadow for the Kubernetes Contributor Summit. So I was the last shadow of the Kubernetes Contributor Summit because now the KCS has been rebranded to the Maintainer Summit. So as a KCS shadow, I got an workings of how the Contributor Summit runs. I got to know about the steering committee, about the technical oversight committee. I understood the whole CNCF landscape. And it was like a lot of hard work, lots of meetings. But I also got, after 6 months of hard work, I was felicitated with the Chopwood Carrywater Award in Salt Lake City in November. So for someone who started this open source journey in April last year, and within 6 months to get the award, this award actually didn't belong to me, but rather to the numerous allies who acted as empower, who enabled my journey, who helped me in every space in my contributor journey. So Allyship has had a lasting impact. A small change goes a long way. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you basically see that just like that little line was so meaningful, which kind of means that allyship is not like, doesn't have to be these huge things, like just little steps make have a huge impact. Would you like to add something?
Yes, I would like to add how allyship has been such a support. Using your voices to amplify ours, even in small ways, can be a huge impact, as we have said. It can really impact us and create change for us. Because I've noticed as we have progressed in getting the word out or adding captions, sometimes captions aren't enough. And to create full accessibility for everyone sometimes requires additional accommodations. But oftentimes it's not thought until afterwards to say, hey, did you need additional accommodations? And then I've missed the meeting. So asking me before the meeting on what sort of accommodations that are needed so that I can provide that input is much more helpful than doing it after the fact. So allyship means supporting some ideas of accessibility prior to meetings, and that can really create a lot of change as well.
Great. So if there was one thing you wish allies, if there was one thing you wish people would know about allyship, what would that be? Sandeep.
That accessibility is not really rocket science. It does not need like a lot of intense resources. all it needs is just a little bit of empathy, a dash of awareness, and lots of willingness. With allyship, you don't become an ally, you just internalize it. You don't have to have the word, but you just become one without even knowing you have become one. So like you and your partner, you go to a cave, and the entrance is not wheelchair accessible. And you just call out that, hey, why is the entrance not wheelchair accessible? Neither you nor your partner are using a wheelchair, and yet you call this out because you sort of internalize it. This is something that I'm sharing from my personal example. So the allyship is just not that limited that I think about the deaf population. I think in a way about the other underrepresented groups as well, about the BIPOC community, about the visually challenged community. So I try to prepare my presentations where I use minimal images so that the blind people can actually follow my presentation. So it's just a little bit of willingness and not too much of rocket science.
Also, what Sandeep was just saying, I would like to add to that, because in this working group, we've had a few people who are hearing recently join us, and that is amazing. It is such a wonderful act of allyship to join us, and it's quite a simple thing to join us. And maybe it's just out of curiosity, and during different events, we're able to speak to each other and increase each other's awareness about simple things like accessibility, like we've been talking about today, but having that support from others is tremendous. When you join us, even for an event or our monthly meeting, just to watch and learn, it says so much, and it spreads awareness in a way that might not be done otherwise. It's very helpful.
I'd also like to add that I wish that allies would, to answer the question that's being posed here, feel free to really ask us any kind of question, what you think, ask us what we need to be successful, relationships and things like that. What do you need? What would you like? How can we have an open conversation? Don't worry about being rude or offensive to us.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
just enjoy
exactly.
it. Enjoy the communication. Let's laugh together. Let's talk.
And probably learn a little bit of sign in the process,
Absolutely.
too. Right?
Yes, and that can open a lot of enjoyment for everyone. That can be a wonderful experience.
Yeah, maybe they'll learn some bad words even, huh?
Indeed, indeed.
But
Go ahead, Rob, sorry.
But my point is that the more that we work together and interact with each other and value each other's input, as well as just sharing knowledge and learning something new every day, right? A lot of those things that people don't know about, maybe what I do in my day-to-day life, something funny or something stupid, who knows, right? But like thinking about that might not be something that others would thinking about. So this, at the conference here, we're all here to learn something new. Tech, mostly, right? But we're also here to learn about each other and the community, and it's about us for us, right?
That's absolutely true. And as you become allies, the first thing is involved is just learning how to communicate and enjoying us and enjoying each other's company. And it'll help you to understand more easily about what we need and how we can be helped.
Well said. Oh, well signed, I guess.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, so many people want to become allies but don't know where to get started, and I hope many people here ask themselves that question. So what are the first steps that people could take to get started?
Yeah, I'll take that. So Rob and Milad have both said always ask us what our preference is. But also you can start with something very small. Just asking is a small thing. For example, if you meet a deaf person outside at KubeCon, just let us know. Or if you meet a deaf person out in your organisation where you're working, and they maybe haven't attended KubeCon, they don't know about our working group, let them know about us. Introduce the deaf and hard of hearing working group. Deaf people need to know that we're here. And also, if you organise a local event or a meeting, a meetup, think about adding captions to your presentations. Think about calling out lack of accessibility. Make sure that there's space for us. Platform and spotlight deaf people all the time. Because often we'll go to an event, or we'll want to go to an event, we'll contact the organisers and say, is there going to be interpretation there? Is there going to be captions? And often we don't even get a response. And, you know, just call people out. Know that organisations and events can do a lot better than how things have been in the past. That can really, really help us, and that is real allyship. If you feel you're not sure about how to connect with deaf people, how to talk to us, don't feel awkward. You know, come and talk to us, ask questions, ask the best way to communicate with us. Deaf people are very, very friendly and very open to talking with people that they've not met before. We're happy to talk to you about what we need. So just to reiterate, starting with small things, sharing our posts, spreading awareness of our deaf and hard of hearing working group. Make sure you repost the things that we're sharing about our work and our lives. That helps the platform and spotlight deaf people, and that's really, really important. And that means that events are much more inclusive. Sometimes if you're at an event and a meeting's very, very loud, there's lots of people talking over each other, and you notice that somebody's sat there not contributing, why not just hold the meeting and say, is there anything you'd like to contribute? You know, for that person, not only for deaf people, but for lots of people who struggle to interrupt large, busy, crowded spaces, it's really important to make space for people and make sure they're included.
To add to what Anastasiia said, the resources online for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group that we have with the cncf.io website, there is a plethora of information there. So just to let you know how you can, you know, maybe you're hosting a small local meetup, there's guidelines that we have listed there that you can follow, you know, maybe bringing a TV screen and hooking that up with a caption using AI or whatever, as an example.
AI again.
Yeah, totally.
Or we could, you know, if you're having a mid-sized conference, there's, you know, what does the typical accommodation look like for that? And a large-scale conference, like something like this, right? So we have all kinds of recommendations for accommodations. And, you know, if you're afraid to ask, we've got the resources there too. So, I mean, really, of course, like Anastasiia said, just ask us. You know, I'm deaf, he's deaf, you're deaf, he's deaf. And we all have different range of a spectrum of accommodations that we require, right? So just different things. All deaf people, you know, have different preferences and requirements. Some are, you know, hard of hearing, some can speak, some not. So yeah, just ask us out directly. It's totally fine.
So if I have to just say one line, I would say ask and don't assume.
Very good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and just like talking about events and calling out when it's not accessible, because a lot of times people say like, well, there are no deaf people here, so we don't need captions. Well, guess why there are no deaf people? Because there are no captions, right? Like suddenly, and that's like the,
Yep,
the
exactly.
CNCF and the Linux Foundation were great. Like as soon as because events were not accessible, right? And then we provided some best practices and so on, and they did it in lightning speed, which was amazing. And now deaf people are here. So like the reason they're not there, it's just because it's not accessible, and that kind of like it's terrible because it's really like this loop, people not assuming, and so yeah, things should be accessible by default, and people will come. But yeah, this is the end of the discussion. I have a few announcements to make, and then we have a few minutes for Q&A. So this is the thing, Costas, this is your fault. So we are starting a mentorship program. So if you want to be a mentor of an underrepresented group, scan the QR code. You learn a little bit about that. We're still, like, the first step is like getting mentors, and then we'll try to match them. So please do. I'm going to wait.
You going to be a mentor?
I could try.
He needs a mentor.
Okay, and then tomorrow we're going to have 2 activities. We're going to have an open discussion. So if you enjoyed this conversation, it's going to be more of this, but interactive, so you're going to be part of that. So there is a DEI community hub, and that's at 4 p.m. And then a sign language crash course. We did that last time, and it was packed. It was like people loved it. It was so much fun. So that's at 5 p.m. So it's one after the other, also in the DEI community hub. And then we do have a kiosk in the project pavilion in the expo hall. It's we have the AM shift, so in the afternoon you're not going to find it, but swing by and say hi and thank you, and we'll open it for Q&A.
Thanks, everyone.
One thing before we go to Q&A, if we could go back just a little bit, that last slide, I would like to add to that about the mentor slide. That's the one. Okay. The concept is the same as having a friend, for instance, asking me, hey, do you want to be involved in a mentorship situation, or do you want to mentor deaf children? I had no experience being a mentor to deaf kids, but I really wanted to be involved. I wanted to become a mentor, and I wanted to learn at that time. So I was able to take what I had learned from my mentor and apply it to that situation and work with kids who were born deaf, and they could have that connection with a deaf adult. And if they have any difficulties that are being overlooked in their educational setting, for example, they could learn on how to advocate for themselves and from a deaf adult, and to have allyship work for them. And it's the same concept here. They were able to learn that young because we were involved in a mentorship program with them. So if you have something that you feel you could teach, please become a mentor, because it will impact future generations of people in tech from marginalized communities. And that's just my opinion that I'd like to add. Did you have something else to say?
Well, and just like you will see it in the forum, but like you can pick whatever you want. Like if it's like just like a one-time thing, teaming up to give a talk, if you want to do career advice, if you want to like help people contribute to open source, like you can pick different things, and it's so it's not like the time commitment depends on both of you, so we have something for everyone. But if there are any questions, there was a mic over there. Anyone? Okay.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, well, congratulations.
We can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
I can see you.
Okay. You can see me like. Well, I have two questions. That the first is how maybe can interact with this best practice of accessibility for the cloud native communities, because I was asking myself that, for example, in the cloud native chapters, how can we add the resources that are maybe already available, or even external, to try to introduce as a inside of the slides, as a pattern by default. And also my second question is about how can we expand this about localizations, because also it's all another people that is deaf and hearing in other continents, and how can we expand it and help it? And I have just a brief, like for example, we have the KCDs events that we could add like a default pattern to have this signed that introduce this kind of best practice to more accessible in all our events. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, awesome question. Thank you. I know that, understanding accommodations, there's a price tag that comes with it, of course. So not everybody can afford it, especially in developing countries. So that being said, there are ways and approaches around it. We have instruction sheets on the website, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Working Group, that you can page down and kind of work your way through. There's, things like like I mentioned before, the caption on the TV screen, step by step. There's one contributor who built an app, for that, so that can be utilized, as well as the community. We, will understand there's some situations that there's no sign language interpreters available, so we just ask for your patience, and we can maybe interact with the captions that way and get what we need there. Sometimes we can use our phones to be able to text back and forth, or the old school way with a pen and paper. There's ways to interact. We can go back and forth, and ways to work around. So just be patient, I would ask. What's your experience, Milad?
Can I add?
Yeah, well, we were talking, I was interviewing Sandeep recently, and we had a bit of a communication breakdown. And we were talking about using different microphones and being able to interview one another smoothly. And in a small group, that's something you could provide very simply, to purchase a microphone that doesn't really cost much, or maybe they already have it. It's a small expense that you could use with the caption app, like Sandeep uses. Everything doesn't have to be a massive investment. It can be a very small thing that's very impactful, as we've said previously. So that's just my advice, is you can make it very smooth just by something very small.
Uses a tool called BY, BY. So that BY already has an inbuilt caption in that you can utilize for your virtual meetups. Okay? Okay, in the interest of time, I think we need to wind up. We would love many more questions. You can hit us up in Slack afterwards.
Yeah. Again, come to our kiosk if you have follow-up questions, because we ran out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love you all.